The purpose of performing a stakeholder analysis is to provide the project manager and the project team with an overview of the people who have an interest in the project. The model provides an overview of how much stakeholders will be affected by the project and how much influence they have on the project. The model consists of two criteria. The various stakeholders' influence on the project. Who can influence decisions affecting the project and who cannot? How much the project affects the individual stakeholders. Those who are or will be affected by the project is also usually necessary for the implementation of the project. The model is a matrix with 4 fields. It is small or large influence on the x-axis and low or high affected by the project on the y-axis. The 4 categories of stakeholders are called external stakeholder, hostage, grey eminence, resource person. Let us now consider how each of the 4 fields should be understood. External shareholders. Here, the project manager should use the fewest resources. They have little or no influence on the project, and the effect of the project on them is also very low. They will therefore have little interest in the project. They just need to be informed about the project so that they know it exists. A newsletter sent by email could do this. Hostage is a group where the project manager must do more. Hostages have an interest in the project as they are affected by the project, but they have little or no influence. The project manager must inform the hostages. They must have the opportunity to ask questions. An example is the management of a hospital that adopts a new nutrition policy. It affects staff and patients, but they have no influence. The project manager could organise large meetings and focus groups among the hostages. The group of grey eminences have no deep feelings on the project as it does not affect them. However, they have influence on it. They must feel that the project manager takes them seriously. They must feel that they are being listened to. The project manager could arrange interviews about their experience with similar projects or set up a reference group with them as participants. Resource person is the most important group. They have influence on the project and they are affected by the project. It is very necessary that the project manager convinces them that the project is good for them. They must be positive. This is best achieved if they are involved in the project, either by working with the project or by being a member of the project board. Let's take a look at who the stakeholders are and how we identify them. Stakeholders are all those who are affected by the project, as well as anyone who may have influence on the project. Here you should seek as broadly as possible and try to identify stakeholders of all kinds. You could use the brainstorm method and then place them in the model. In the following section, we will review an example. A company is going to expand its production capacity by means of a new building. The list of stakeholders covered in this brainstorm is not comprehensive. We mention only 4 stakeholders, but in reality, you will have many more stakeholders. The company employs salespeople who work from their own home address. They visit the company once or twice a month. The project has no importance for their work. They only need to be oriented. It will affect the employees in the warehouse. They have to plan the move of all the items into the new building. They need to be informed about when they can begin this part of the project. The new building does not affect the chief accountant's department or his work. However, everyone seeks advice from the chief accountant in relation to major investments. Therefore, the project manager should interview the chief accountant and listen to his advice about the project's financial aspects. It was originally planned that the production department should move into the new building. This has changed. It is the warehouse department who is going to move into the new building. The production department will expand into the free space in the old building left behind by the warehouse department. This kind of decision requires agreement from the production manager. It can only be achieved if he is involved in the project, so that he takes part in the decision. Criticism of the model. Stakeholders' positions can move over time. The model does not take into account the dimension of time. You must yourself regularly update this aspect. Let's take a look at another example. To start construction, we must have the approval of the planning department. We need a building permit, so in the startup phase of the project, we must place the planning department as a grey eminence. The planning department is not affected by the project, but has influence on the project. Once they have given permission for the building, they are considered an external stakeholder. If we want changes in the construction that require a new permit, the planning department moves back to being a grey eminence. The model does not consider the stakeholders' attitude towards the project. A classic example is the users of IT systems when the system is forced on the users without warning. That is why hostages must be informed. Therefore, you may want to classify the stakeholders in this figure, so you can better target your communications with the stakeholders. The various stakeholders can be both negative and positive towards the project, as well as active or passive in their attitudes towards the project. Let's take a look at another example. Our warehouse employees are positive and active. They are moving into a new building. Production people are negative. They must move into an old building. You must be able to predict whether their attitude will be reflected passively or actively. It is always good to carry out a stakeholder analysis. It provides an overview of the stakeholders and shows you how to communicate with them throughout the project.